Love
All right.
it.
Guys, welcome to Stand Up, Stand Out America with yours truly, Bianca Gracia, La Conservadora Tejana. I have been out for a bit, but I am back now on this Friday night. Joining me tonight is Laura Gutierrez. She is a mother, a wife, an activist, a leader in her community. She's become bold, outspoken. She is our second vice president at Latinos for America First. But she wears many, many hats and is involved with a Tea Party locally. She's a precinct chair. You want to talk about getting involved. She has completely gotten involved, and I am so happy that she is coming on tonight. She's got a lot to update us about. Lots of things happening in her area, in her where she lives, in her district, I guess. And there's a lot of updates, a lot of things that she's been getting involved. Number one, she lives on the border, so border town. So she's gotten involved. She's obviously a voice for border security. Second, she's also gotten herself involved with election integrity. So she's doing some things that are focusing on election integrity. But right now, what is really at the forefront in her community right now is these drag queen story hours, the critical race theory, what they're teaching in kids, the library books that's really got these parents riled up into RGV. And if you don't know what RGV is, it's a Rio Grande Valley. So she's going to give us some education and updates about what is exactly happening in a predominant Hispanic, Latino, Mexican American area. And we need to find out. Laura, tell us, number one, what's happening. Number two, do the parents know what's happening? Welcome to Stand Up, Stand Out America tonight.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I'm happy. And thank you so much for inviting me. So yes, there is a lot of stuff going on down here in the Rio Grande Valley. And to tell you the truth, some parents are in shock of what is happening, and some parents have no clue what is going on. And if it weren't for social media and some people standing up and speaking out and addressing what's happening, parents would know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on just recently here in Alamo, Texas. I don't know if some of the viewers are from Alamo, Texas, but they decided to have a drag queen show at a beer joint, and it was approved by the city of Alamo to have this event. They knew that this event was catering to children, not just parents, children. And so at this event, I was not there, but at this event, there was a lot of exposure, a lot of nudity. I mean, drag queens, it's very sexual. And so anyway, there was a couple of people there that were recording this event. And it turns out that one of the drag queens, their genitals was exposed, and
oh my gosh.
Someone made a complaint, and turns out that the police department decided just to not do anything about it. So my concern. Go ahead.
Let me ask a question. You said it was at a beer joint. Now, when you say it's at a beer joint, typically people would say, well, that's at an adult location.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at a beer joint, why were there kids involved?
Well, because some of these parents took the children to this event. And the person that was putting this event together, it was actually said it was hosted by Neon Mavis York. And there was a couple of people actually, but they were actually advertising scholarships, fundraisers, resource fairs for kids. So
making it an educational event about come on, scholarships. Of course, parents are going to show up because they think it's scholarships. But
Mhm.
yet you go in and here you go and they find out that there is
Mhm.
someone drag queen and they're showing their genitals.
Mhm.
This is
It was
disgusting.
yes, it was an LGBTQ event for specifically for youth. So when parents saw this on the social media, because it was
Mhm.
posted, like I said, some were in shock. They just could not believe that this would be out there for the kids. And my question, Bianca, is, you know, what about, where is CPS? Where are these organizations that are saying that they're fighting for the kids? They're advocating for the children. You know, this is not right. They're indoctrinating our kids, they're grooming our children. And the parents that participate in this, they need to be accountable as well. So, but yeah, people are now they're going to get involved. And just so you'll know, there's going to be a meeting, a commissioners meeting in the city of Alamo on the
Mhm.
21st of March. And they're going to have a lot of people show up and speak out, because
Okay.
what happened is wrong, and it's going to come to a town near you real soon.
Well, it's been happening.
Yes.
Apparently in the city of Edinburgh, I believe right before the Christmas, it was probably during Christmas. There was a parade or something that happened. And I remember they sent me pictures, they sent me photos of drag queens who were actually part of the parade in Edinburgh. Um, and I'm sorry, they were dressed very inappropriately and they were around kids, around little girls, boys dressed up like girls. And it was not flattering at all. And they were around little girls. So it's been happening in your community. I mean, this is
Mhm.
not, years ago, someone who previously was involved in this organization had found out that in the city of Edinburgh, there was, there was some things going on in the libraries.
Mhm.
Now, whether there was drag queen story hour, maybe not that, but they were definitely bringing in inappropriate art
Mhm.
that showed genitals and things of the sort
Mhm.
into the libraries where kids come. And so, so it's been happening. So now you're having something go on in the city of Alamo. Now, is it because, how did parents find out? Because you said there's now going to be parents that are going to go talk at the city of Alamo. Did the parents find out because you and a group of other parents brought attention to it? Was it on the news? How did it get exposed?
It was exposed on social media. There's several independent journalists, because you know how the news right now is, if it's not an independent journalist, they're lying. So a couple of independent journalists were there recording
Mm-hmm.
what was happening.
Okay.
Uh, of course, it got a little feisty towards the end, because they saw that somebody had made a complaint, because, like I said, one of these drag queens, their genitals were exposed, and someone made a complaint, but the police didn't do anything about it. So they wanted to investigate even further. So that particular journalist has been putting it out there in different social medias, and so that's how I was able to get a hold of it. And of course, we got a couple of us together, we teamed up and we said, okay, this has to stop. We went to talk to the DA in person to see how he could help us with this. And he
Really?
basically told, yes, we went. It was about three of us had a meeting with him. And we just wanted to know, look, this is going on. How can you help us? What can be done? And he basically said he couldn't do anything about it. And that, to me, that's not an answer. That's not a correct answer. There's got to be something to be done, because there's House bills right now that have just passed, and it's to protect our children from being exposed from inappropriate, things, sexual orientation, gender identity. What difference is this? I mean, they're being exposed to, the lie, the actual human being, sexual, because that's what they
I,
were doing. They
I
were
think I've,
performing.
mhm.
They were asking the parents and the children to give them money. So the children were putting money in their, in their bathing suits or whatever it is that was they were wearing. So, what is the difference? If there's bills being passed to protect our kids, from school districts doing certain things about sexual orientation and gender identity, well, this is just as bad or even worse. So we need to make sure that bills are passed to protect our kids from this. And I believe that some bills are being worked on already. I'm not real sure um, where
I
exactly,
I
but
did I did see something that I think Glenn Hager, it said Glenn Hager was going to start going after bars or, I guess, event locations to maybe try to shut them down or find them for this type of behavior. And it is behavior. Look, if drag queens or whatever, these, the gay movement, whatever they want to go and do all these things, you know, I've known this. This has been happening for years. I mean, when I was growing up, there was drag queens, but they had their bars, clubs, whatever, and they
yeah.
went to their they go to their bars and their clubs. But to be now in front of children
Mm-hmm.
in libraries, at schools, like I said, marching in the parades, that's that's not acceptable.
No,
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not. It's very inappropriate
very inappropriate. Very
to
inappropriate.
be bringing your children to cause more confusion. There is a moral and ethical question regarding that. And you know what? This LGBTQ agenda has really gone way too far. They ask for equality and all these things, and you can have equality all you want, but children are off limits. Children are off
Mm.
limits.
Yes, we got froze. Can you hear me, Bianca?
Really taken it way too far.
Mm-hmm.
So, Laura,
Yes.
so when is this day again that people are going to go?
We're going to get a group, and the more the merrier. The more people that show up, we need to really send out a statement to the cities, because like I said, if we don't put a stop to it and make them accountable, they're going to be coming to the next city, and we cannot have that. We cannot have that.
Do you
It's gonna.
see?
Go ahead.
Let me ask a question. Is it mainly people that you see that want to get involved, or that they're going to go with you to this hearing or to this meeting?
Mhm.
Are they mainly on the right side or the Republican side? Are you getting any bipartisan support on this? Is there any conservative Democrats or any moderate Democrats that are saying we're not okay with this?
Well, I'm most of the people that I you know that I've worked with, or that we come together, most of us are conservative. Um, I don't know of any that are, but I think that this issue is maybe one of those issues that will attract uh, Democrats as well, because it is affecting the family value, and
Yep.
it's gonna this is gonna affect us for generations to come if we do not put a stop to it.
Right.
And again, we got to make the cities accountable, but also the parents that are taking the children to these. And let me just say this. Just recently, I saw it on the news. They actually interviewed a drag queen. I don't know if you saw that interview.
Mm-mm.
Um, And that drag queen was not in favor of what they're doing with the kids. They, they see themselves, some of them see themselves as artists, and they are, a lot of them are gay, but he was adamant that the children should not be there. The children should not be exposed to that. So you even have people that, drag queens that are saying, no, this is wrong. This is wrong.
So interesting that you say that. I don't know if it's the same person, but I was just recently at CPAC in DC, and everybody was looking at, they call her MAGA, Lady MAGA. Very tall gentleman. And it was about the only cross dresser at CPAC and was getting a lot of attention. But the girl that I was with is in ministry. And she said, I really want to go and pray for that person because I think they're confused. Well, it turned out that the guy told her, I dress up because it's the way that I bring attention to this issue that is very much in my heart. And he gave us his testimony. He actually said he was very alpha male. He said, I am an artist. I design. So I'm very much into theater, he said, and I design costumes. And this is why I do a lot of these, century looking costumes. He said, the reason I dress up is to bring attention to the very issue with the drag queen and the kids. So he said he goes to state legislators and he speaks at committees, and everybody always, he says, they judge him based on his looks. So he says, I walk in there and everybody thinks, oh my God, here's a drag queen, and everybody wants to like stone him. But he said, actually, when they hear him talk, he's talking against this very agenda. He doesn't believe that this should be brought on kids. He's like, doesn't believe in it at all. He actually told us that he had given his life to Jesus Christ in January. He told us that he lost a family member. It was very hard last year, and he became an alcoholic. And he said, I got on my knees and I prayed to the Lord. And I said, God, if you're real, please give me a sign. And he said, and the Lord had spared him and spared his life. And he said, I'm dedicating my life. He said, this is not my lifestyle. He said, but I dress up because I speak against the drag queens messing with our children. And so, you know what? I believe we have his information, and he may be very valuable during this time to go and speak out at this, event that goes with y'all, that he will clearly be dressed up and will speak against the very thing that you guys are talking about. And so, he says, look, I love these people if they feel that they want to be, dressed up or whatever. And, that's their choice. But I'm very, very much against confusing the children. I'm very much against gender modification, extremely against gender modification. And so, so it was very interesting to hear that story. And he could be beneficial to y'all. So I probably need to connect him to y'all, but this is good. Now, guys, if you are listening, please share this podcast. As you know, Laura is doing a call of action. They're going to go to the city of Alamo in Alamo, Texas, to go and speak out March. Did you say 27th?
It's going to be, March 21st. March 21st. The city has
March
their meetings
21st.
on the 1st and the 3rd Tuesday of every month. So the next one is going to be on the 21st at 6 p.m. And so the city offices are off of Tower Road, and just directly across is where they had the event.
If someone wants to get involved and go meet, go with y'all. And listen, guys, if you know of parents that are maybe not politically involved, they don't care about parties, but they care about their children, please urge them to go to this meeting.
Yeah,
this is nonpartisan issue. So please encourage them. It does not have to just come from conservatives. Guys, if you know of the pastors, we need to get the pastors in the church involved. The pastors need to tell their parents in their congregations that they need to take a stand against this as well. It's not to shame people, but it's to say kids are off limits, guys. Kids are off limits. We're not going to stand for this at all. And so, so
We've
where
actually
would
been
be
sharing.
the place?
Sorry, we've been sharing. I sent you I sent you this. I think you got
Yes.
it. We've been
Okay,
making
yes.
copies of it, and we've been
Mhm.
sharing it
Okay.
at some of the city offices meetings, and also to pastors and priests, because they don't know. They a lot of, if you don't tell them, they don't
Mhm.
know what's happening.
Yeah.
And they were.
They don't really stay involved. You have to kind of keep briefing them.
Mm-hmm. And they were in shock. They were in shock, and they, as a matter of fact, some of the pastors were at some of these city meetings, and they were not very happy to see what was happening. So we're gonna see if they can attend also these meetings. But elements of the left, I mean, they're trying to push drag queen shows in schools. So it's getting close. I mean, and parents need to get involved. Parents need to, if you're not in favor of what they're doing with your kids, you need to speak up. I mean, there's a lot of these meetings, Bianca, they take place in the afternoon after working hours. They're maybe an hour long, but if parents don't speak out, then that's why they do what they do, because they feel like they have the right.
Right.
And really,
Right. Exactly. If
and
no one
they
shows
don't.
up, it's the same thing that we talked about when I started in this movement with the election integrity. If the polling places are going to be run by nothing but Democrats, and we have no Republicans to balance it off, then of course shenanigans will take place. It would be vice versa. If you have a place and it's run by Republicans, Democrats should also feel that they don't have representation, and there should be there should always be a balance. And this is what it's about. You've got to have a balance. Samara Halak says LGBTQ is now becoming synonymous with pedophilia. It's a form of pedophilia when you have your genitals sticking out, when you have your butt sticking out, when you're shaking your butt in all of your private parts in front of children, and then having them, the parents, listen, this is ridiculous. Parents giving them dollar bills to go put in like a G-string is disgusting. That's just disgusting. It's disgusting.
But even when they were talking, they were saying very, very vulgar things, very sexual things, So yeah, it was not a child-friendly show. And
Sure not. No, I'm sure not. No. They aren't at all. Now, let me ask you something here, because when you say parents, it's time to stand up and you've got to come and talk and speak and say something. So, Laura, let's just go back here. You weren't always an activist. You weren't always someone who was out there speaking out, but you got involved. You became very, very involved, and little by little, I remember when you're like, well, I don't really, this is not really my thing. I don't go and speak out, but you started to bravely go and speak out, especially with all the COVID mandates. That's where I think you began to really go and speak out in front of school boards, commissioners' court, city councils. I know that you and a team of people, of other activists there, that went and spoke out. And then you started to find other parents that felt the same, and they started to get brave and start to speak out, because they didn't want to be the first one, but you started it. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you guys were able to put so much pressure on these school districts that they unmasked the kids. So it didn't take thousands of people to go show up, but a handful of people and a growing number of people. You started to apply the pressure. You started to present facts. Listen, you didn't go up there, and this is what I tell people. This is why it's very important to educate people. You didn't go up there and just start, yelling at these people. I heard your speeches. Very well thought out, very well written. You made your point. You only get 2 to 3 minutes to speak. You presented your case. You gave them facts. You even printed out books. I remember you were printing out things from the frontline doctors. You were getting information and saying, here's the information. You were giving these city council people information. You're like, this is the real information that was literally backed by CDC. We are now seeing we were called conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Oh, we were going to kill people.
Yeah.
Oh, how dare you? All this is now coming out true. So parents, this is why it's so important to get involved. It takes one person to be brave. That person multiplies. Laura, you've now become a leader in your community. You're outspoken. People come to you. People look to you. And you've now become a leader. And I know that you're never one to say, well, look at me and I want to be the star. It's not about that. This is really about the core principles and what you believe in is right and wrong. And you've managed to do this very effectively and efficiently. And we applaud you for that. Most recently, you've been given an advisory board on the Hispanic advisory board on the Heritage Foundation. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's huge. We applaud you for that. That is huge. This is how, I tell parents when they ask me, well, I don't want to speak out. Well, you can be little involved or you can be big involved. Laura became little involved, and little involved became medium involved, and medium involved has become big involved. This is how passionate she is. Tell us a little bit about what it was like when you had to step out of your comfort zone and start speaking out.
Wow. Well, really, for me, like I told you before, I was not the type of person to speak out in public. So it was, it was hard for me, but, I prayed a lot about it, and I remember just, God speaking to me. And, I would be reading scripture, and, there was verses that would always come out when he said, I want you to speak truth. You need to speak truth. And so, sorry. So, it was that little nudge. And so I finally said, Lord, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to? And this is when, the COVID mandates came, the vaccine mandates, and my daughter's school was getting ready to start, and they were not going to be mandated. They were not going to be mandated to wear the mask. But then from one week to the next, we find out that they were going to mask them again. And we found out that it was because the superintendents of the school districts had gotten together with the Hidalgo County judge, and they had said, this is how it went down. So we've got so much money coming in, and if you want a piece of the pie, you're going to have to mask the kids. And that's basically what it was.
It's all about
And
money.
so it's always been about the money, Bianca. It's always been about the money. Just follow the trail, follow the money. And it's still happening till this day. Yeah. You see them there, they give free this, free that, free movies. Come and get vaccinated. Come and do that. The county of Hidalgo has a warehouse. They purchased a warehouse off of 281 to store all the masks and gloves, and right now they're rotting. Nobody's wearing them. We all found out that it was all a lie. Yeah. Masks don't do anything for you. I know doctors, medical doctors, surgeons, that they tell me the only reason that they wear masks and when they're doing surgeries is because things might splatter, right? But, right. But that's not. But we all know the truth. We all know the truth. The truth.
I wasn't protecting you from getting. Out. Yeah, I wasn't protecting you from getting the virus.
Nothing.
At all.
So no. We started. So I started there. I started at my daughter's school board, and I went and I spoke, and I remember, I'll never forget, they were going to escort me out of the building because I was not wearing a mask. They had the security guard come and tell me that if I did not wear the mask, that the police was going to escort me out. When, as you know, some of the school board members didn't have a mask on. You know, it's hypocrisy. It was
Hypocrisy.
hypocrisy.
Yes.
And so, and I even told him out. I said, this is what you all think is what y'all are doing is a disservice to our kids. I
Right.
said, and we all know it's about the money. And so that's kind of how it started. And then we started, and actually teachers and parents would, when I would leave the meeting, they would follow me and they would say, thank you so much for speaking out. We're afraid to speak out.
Yeah.
We're afraid that they're gonna
They
fire
would get
us.
fired. Yeah. They were
They're
afraid
gonna
of getting
fire us,
fired.
but
Yeah.
thank you for speaking out. Please, who are you? Where are you from? And so that's kind of how it started. And so we started creating these little groups of like-minded people, and that's how it went. But really, it was God's calling, because I think everybody that is involved in speaking out, it's all been it's a God thing.
Yes.
I truly
Driven.
believe it. I would not, the Holy Spirit just, and I pray every time I go and I speak, because I'm very nervous, and I just say, God, give me the wisdom, give me the words to speak. What do you want me to say? And that's how it started, honestly.
That's
Me.
amazing. You've really come a long way. I do remember that. You were very, very nervous. You were not one to speak out. You're kind of one of those that just was minding your business, running your business at home, raising your child, maintaining your household, being a good wife, being a good mother. And, I know that you were definitely going to be out of your comfort zone. And now you've become so passionate about all of this that you, like I said, you become a leader in your community, one that other people will look for. That's what people would tell me when I started to speak out, is the same thing. They'd come and nudge me or follow me and say, thank you so much, for speaking out. I remember when Trump was running, I mean, people didn't want to say anything, and they would come and they'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much for speaking out. We can't say anything. We're afraid. People were afraid to lose their jobs just because they liked Trump back then. It wasn't popular. You couldn't say anything. I mean, it was really a crazy thing. And so it's really sad that we have that the America, we live by a constitution. We're supposed to have freedom of speech. We're supposed to have all these freedoms. And yet this is the kind of adversaries we've been faced with here in our country, just for giving our opinions, or listen, we're trying to speak truth. It's not even an opinion. We're not just going out there and saying, hey, we don't want to wear masks because we don't like it. We were trying to say based on facts, and they still didn't like that. And so so I just really applaud you, because I think you've really come a long way. And becoming an activist or an advocate for any issue comes with some very adversary territory, right? You can sometimes get called names, you sometimes get shunned, you sometimes get attacked because you're doing the right thing. And so but I know that people that are in your community are very thankful. We've got Ismael Fonseca on here, and he's like, oh, so glad. He's like, proud of you ladies. I'm like, no, listen, Judge Fonseca, people like you that are a lawyer and have been a judge, you have been instrumental in helping this team make sure that they legally know what they have to do and don't do, and you advise them. And we thank you for your experience and your wisdom and your knowledge, and for sharing it, for people, so that they peacefully do things, and that they do it righteously, and that they also, are successful with their efforts. And so we thank people like you for believing in the little people like us. We always say we're little, we're just one voice. We're not magnificent anything, but we thank you because we need leaders. We need other leaders to mentor and train us and tell us, so we're very thankful for you as well, Judge Fonseca. I know that Laura and her team and everybody out in the RGV that works well together is just loves you, admires you, and they just, they will definitely, they would go hang the moon for you because they really believe in you and they have supported you. And so yeah, so here we go. So and being that he's a judge, has he advised, I'm curious, has he advised, is there any laws, is there a way that you're going to be approaching this Alamo meeting about, because if you've gone to the DA and the DA basically told you we can't do anything, what is it that you think you're going to have on your side? And you don't have to tell it all because you don't want to give them what you're coming with, but is there any words of advice that you've been given and how to make sure that that you get a hold of this? And I'm going to give you an example. My husband, who does human trafficking, so there's, you can't always maybe take down a facility, right, that has human trafficking going on. So what he's done is he's used in a code enforcement or city ordinances to shut places down. Okay, so that may be kind of something that you need to do, and look into these establishments. Are they breaking some kind of code? Go after them for city code, city ordinances or city code, to try to maybe bring some heat down on them. And that's just, I'm just throwing out an idea there.
Yes. Well, I mean, it has happened, and I know it happened in Austin. No, I think it was Dallas.
Okay.
Where they had something very similar. It was at also a beer establishment, and a lot of parents showed up, but they actually showed up the day of. They knew that it was going to happen, and so they actually shut down the establishment. And so the DA said he couldn't do anything about it. He said, well, did anybody press charges? So unless somebody is actually pressing charges or suing the establishment, I guess that's when he can get involved, which is, and that if that needs to happen, it's going to happen, because we need to get involved, and we need to let them know that it is not acceptable. I mean, they're passing, House bills also, against CRT, and against, so my point is, this is so much worse than that.
Yes.
And the left is trying to get a lot of these drag shows in the schools.
Yes.
And so
again, the perfect pushback, I have been telling pastors that the perfect pushback would be that if this LGBTQ manages to get into the schools, then what pastors and churches need to say is they need to go to the school and say, if they're going to be able to push their agenda, we need to be able to push our agenda. And we want to read the Bible 30 minutes a day. If they're going to be reading their books, we're going to read the Bible 30 minutes a day, and we want equality. And this is how I believe that they will shut it all down, because they don't want God in there. They want to have their agenda, and they want to push their agenda. But if the church actually stood up and said, hey, you know what? You want that? Okay, well, so do we. We want our 30 minutes of Bible storytelling time as well. I guarantee you this whole agenda would disappear in the school, because they don't want to have they're not going to want to have God there. That is a way to combat this. If we can get the pastors to start pushing with legislators and say, you know what, if the drag queen story people get their way, then we want our way in the schools. We want God back in the school. We want the Bible back in the school. And we want 30 minutes in the library with the kids. That's what we need to start doing. And see how quickly that whole agenda shuts down. And listen, we're sending our kids to school so they can learn English, writing, spelling, math, science, history, real science. We're not sending them to be taught that, Julia, if you don't want to be a girl today, you can be Julio. and you can go to the boys' restroom. That's nonsense. That's disgusting. I can't even imagine to think back, Laura, when I was little. I mean, it was embarrassing. You didn't go into a little boy's restroom. It's like it was
No.
embarrassing. You just didn't do that. So what else do you think that would be helpful? What else can you enlighten us with some other things? I know there's a lot of stuff going on in your territory. What else can you tell us that you're working on?
Well, I mean, well, this is one issue, but the other issue is that parents need to know, what they're teaching our kids and what books are in our schools. And like I was telling you earlier, is that there's books in our libraries that are very sexually explicit, pornographic, pretty much. And I have samples here of what they say, but I don't want to say it. But just imagine what they say.
Well, read an excerpt. Don't maybe substitute a word that you know is nasty or whatever, but at least kind of give us a little clue of what's actually. And are we saying this is an elementary, junior high, or high school?
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is that these books are in school libraries, and the school libraries, they receive grants, they receive monies, and there's nobody checks to see what books are being put in the libraries. Okay, so the librarian, the teachers can pretty much purchase whichever book they want, and if they happen to be, woke, and they want to teach your children what they want to teach them, then they can do it.
Yeah.
So so parents need to find out what books are in their libraries, and they have to go to the meetings and have them remove those books. There's a lady by the name of Kristen Bentley. I met her a couple of weeks ago in Austin, and she's president of the Freedom Coalition, and she's actually fighting with AG Ken Paxton from Texas to remove these explicit books from the library.
Wonderful.
And so
we need to support her efforts.
We need to support her, and we need to also support Texas Attorney General, because he has been co-authoring a lot of bills that are in other states that they've also been doing the same thing, because it's not right. So
right.
They want to bring in the drag queens. They want to have these sexual explicit books in the libraries, and unless parents speak up and request what books are being put in the libraries and have them removed, they're not going to do it. And the sad part is that you have all of these national education associations, the Federation of Teachers and all that, and that's their agenda. Their agenda is to continue to expose our kids to all of those things. So right. we need to expose them, and we need to make them accountable. So I thank God that there are already people out there like Kristen Bentley that is working on laws, on bills to eliminate this.
So basically, in a nutshell, I would say that this is a fair statement, that our schools, public schools, our communities are literally sexually exploiting children. And on top of that,
That's a good way to put it.
They're just not in the schools. They're now having these drag queen story hours, functions, events, grants, educational, anything to promote their agenda, anything. And so yeah, look, parents, you've got to get involved. You really have to get involved. You're going to have to, start showing up. If you find people in your community, find some friends, and you should go attend a school board meeting.
It's very simple, Bianca. I mean, that's where they should start. If you're a parent, you have small children or teenage children and, grandparents, all you have to do is you go online and you find out when they're having their school board meetings.
Mhm.
Usually they have 2 a month, right?
Right.
And they usually post their agenda on their website.
Okay.
If not, you can go in person and request it. And that is where you're going to find out what it is that they have on the agenda. Now, there's a particular school district that I want to mention because that's mine, one
Okay.
of them. That if it weren't for the local newspaper, a local article in the newspaper, and it
Mhm.
happens to be a conservative newspaper, if they had not posted that information, the parents would not have known what their agenda was. Okay, so we found that there was an article in the newspaper saying that the city of Mission was
Okay.
going to change their dress code. Okay, parents were not notified that they were going to change their dress code.
Okay.
So several of us showed up to the school board meeting because in the article it said that they wanted to make the dress code a little more comfortable, more gender neutral. And so we went and we spoke and we asked, you know, whose idea was it to change the dress code and why weren't the parents notified about it? And why
Right.
did we not have a vote? And so basically they said that, basically the article said that they had contacted the NAACP and
Oh my.
a diversity group. As a matter of fact, I had it, Diversity Educational Improvement Council and their stakeholders. So the school, instead of calling the parents and finding out if it was a good idea or not, they contacted these organizations. And then when I requested information from the school board through a FOIA, they could not give me any information. I asked them, who are the stakeholders? Who are they from our community? Why did they decide to make these changes to the dress code? So they basically said, oh, the newspaper article made a mistake. It wasn't. So they basically just gave me the runaround.
Mhm.
And so yeah, they are. And I said, okay, so you're going to start with the dress code, and then pretty soon you're going to let the boys go into the girls' bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, that's where it starts. And how
And
dare
and
they? How
Laura,
dare they do that? Yes.
yeah, they were probably giving you the runaround because that's when you know something's wrong, when they're not transparent. When they're trying to hide things, you know that there's an agenda.
And parents, this is not just Mission. I'm telling you, it's Roma ISD last June had a pride parade in their school. This is Roma, and it was advertised. So, and then during Pride Month, a lot of these schools have gay books and have, all of these books in elementary libraries. We have proof, we have pictures. So, I know a lot of parents, they work, they drop off their kids at school and they leave and they say, they're well taken care of.
Mhm.
They're not. They're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents go to school boards when they're going to be given awards and when they're going to be, they have proclamations.
Yes.
But they really need to get involved and see what's really happening. And a lot of their numbers are down. A lot of the school districts are losing students.
Yeah.
Because parents did wake up and now they're homeschooling their kids or they're putting them in Christian schools.
Or Christians.
So,
yeah. Yes.
this is something that really should
be at the forefront.
Should wake up
Yes.
the parents.
It should. And I have actually heard most recently in the past couple months, Laura, that actually nationally, since COVID happened, that because people weren't able to go to school and they had to stay home, that's when parents started to find out what was really
Mhm.
going on in their schools.
Yeah.
That's why there has been an awakening across the country. And I've
Mhm.
heard that the public school system numbers have decreased
Mhm.
tremendously in the last 2 years. They are
Mhm.
losing numbers. So again, everything is about money. So this is where you hit them, is where the money, you got to defund all these projects, programs, initiatives. You got to defund them. So I applaud you, Laura, for all of these efforts. Laura, there is something else that I want you to talk about, because I know you're at the forefront of this. I'm telling you, you have become an outstanding leader. Really going, you're not just talking about it, you're out there doing it. You've gotten involved in the election integrity initiatives. I know that you are working on a project down in the RGV. Can you give us a little insight? Tell us about what's going on with the election integrity and why you are committed to seeing it through.
Well, I mean, our vote is our voice, and if our votes are going to be taken from us, then, you know, things are not going to get better in our community, in our state, in our country. And so, how do we get involved? Again, a lot of us decided we were going to be poll workers and poll watchers, and so basically most of us were poll watchers because
Mhm.
we were that extra eye that we've got to see all of the discrepancies happening in the different polling
Yep.
locations. And so a lot of us uh, actually wrote affidavits to the Secretary of State, all the stuff that we saw with the politiqueras,
Hmm.
with just, people. Bianca, it was so sad. Vans would come with voters, and some of these poor, innocent, elderly, they had dementia, they had Alzheimer's, they had no idea what they were doing, and these people were just grabbing their hands and voting for them. And a lot of the poll workers, unfortunately, they wouldn't speak up, they wouldn't say anything. And so that was very heartbreaking for me to see that.
Yeah.
And just the sad part about it is that a lot of these people that are stealing our votes, they're not they're not hiding it. They're
Yeah.
not hiding it. I mean, it was we actually got threatened at several of the polling locations by the politiqueras, and so we
I
we said, what, we have to do something about it. So what happened? We filled out affidavits, and pretty soon we got in contact with some of the people from there, and we knew that we needed to go to Austin. We are blessed to have Senator Bob Hall. He
Yes.
is working
Yes.
on election integrity. He's trying to change the laws, and you can get his information. You can go online, and he actually has a pamphlet of everything that he is working on, going to paper ballots, getting rid of the harvesting, getting rid of the politiqueras, just cleaning up voter rolls. And so, based on that, we said, what, we have to do it. We have to help, our county. We have to,
Yes.
we have to do it. So we've been meeting. We've had Zoom meetings with Senator Bob Hall. As a matter of fact, I saw him again about a week and a half ago in Austin when we went to the CREC meeting, and he gave a lecture there of what is happening. And so we came back. We said, what, we're going to help clean the voter rolls, because that is one of the main things that we have to do. So we have a group of patriots that are coming together, and we have, I don't know if I can say this because it's still in the
Right.
works, but there is someone from another state that has data banks
Yes.
that will help us clean the voter rolls.
Good.
And
Good.
so it's a lot of tedious work, a
Hmm.
lot of but it can be done, and we know it can be done because it's being done in other states like Arizona and Georgia, where they had major problems. So
Yes.
we're excited about that. And if you are listening and you want to help us clean those voter rolls, because the county's gonna say they might not have the manpower, they might not have the funding, but if you tell them, or if you want to help, just get in contact with me, and we'll set you up. We are excited about this, and we know we have talked to people about it, and they're excited too because they know that there's a lot of election fraud,
Yes.
not just here in Hidalgo County, in a lot of counties. But we got to take it one step at a time, and we're really excited about that.
I know that earlier, latter part of January, I got you connected with Steve Stern,
Yes,
who
that's
you
where it
got,
started.
yeah,
That's where
and
it
that's where
started.
it started. So I
Mhm.
got you connected because he's working on the precinct project, is what he's working on. You can see Steve Stern always on through lots of social media, lots of interviews. He's well known on Steve Bannon, and
Mhm.
so we definitely, I think that was a very good connection because it gave you some insight, and he's been training precinct chairs because you're a
Mhm.
precinct chair. So I gave your name to him, and I know he contacted you. You were able to get on his Zoom calls, and
Mhm.
that's how you got involved. Raj, from
Yes.
Florida,
Yes, Rush.
has already cleaned. They did one county already. They cleaned the voter rolls in their county.
Mhm.
And so this is a way that things work, right? Is
Mhm.
is networking and sharing
Mhm.
information and getting educated, and it's part of the getting involved. I most recently connected him with Robert West. I completely forgotten that Robert West had the 5-star book, and it's basically the same thing. He's been concentrating on precinct strategy, and so they both connected, two powerhouses. You can imagine a second Steve Stern. Okay, you
Mhm.
already know who he is, so
Yeah.
imagine another Steve Stern. So these guys are so committed, and this is what it takes. And so you're actually doing it in your community, and yes, it is hard work, but it's well
Mhm.
worth it. It's a start, and you can say at least you contributed and are contributing to this
Mhm.
to make sure that the voter rolls are cleaned up. And
Mhm.
that's one step,
Mhm.
one of many, in preventing the voter fraud from continuing. And the I call them irregularities.
Mhm.
And so that's what needs to happen. And so, listen, Laura, you're not just speaking out at little city councils anymore. You're now leading efforts, with election integrity. I know you've been to the Capitol. You've gone with Rolando and some others as well. You guys have taken a group up there to go and be supportive of
Mhm.
bills,
Yeah.
and I know Rolando's gone before to years at 2021. I think I sent him and Demesio and Juan Manuel had gone and spoke about election integrity.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, at the time, our legislators here in Texas watered down the election integrity bill.
Mhm.
And so they weren't, strong enough, and we wanted them to be stronger. So I know that we will continue to do those efforts. And I just want to thank you very, very much for all that you're doing. There needs to be, 500 of you, 500 of me,
We're
500 of you.
growing. We're growing. We're growing.
Well, good. That's awesome. I love you guys have, joined efforts with the Tea Party down there, and you guys are growing in numbers, and you're educating each other, and you're helping each other, and you're making a difference. And that's what matters. That's true
Mhm.
community activism.
Mhm.
Laura, how can people find you? How can they reach out if they want to help, or if they need guidance that they're in their little county and they want to do something, but they don't know where to start? Where can they reach out?
Well, I'm on Facebook, so just Laura Gutierrez. And I'm also on Instagram, also Laura Gutierrez 68, and they can also email me, Laura Gutierrez 68 at gmail.com. So just send me an email. And if you want to get involved, we'll plug you in, whether it's, speaking out about the woke agenda on our kids, or if you're involved, if you want to get involved with the elections, because we have, elections coming up in 2024. So we have
Yeah.
we've got to clean those voter rolls. There's a lot of people that are dead that are voting. And there's a lot of people that have moved away that are voting. So
Yeah.
those are just some things that we're going to be working on. So we really hope that more people want to get involved.
Great. This outstanding. Wendy Brana says, Bianca, she says, I totally agree with you, Bianca. She's been watching you closely, Laura, and she says you are a class act local leader. Yes, she is. I listen, guys, for those of you listening, I have been urging her and encouraging her to run for office. She's like, oh my God, not yet. But one of these days, I believe she is going to run for, I want to see her run for something. And this is how it starts. You learn at the bottom. You learn how all this works. You learn how the polling works. You learn how elections work. You learn how your local government is working and functioning now. It's not, so that you can get involved. And I think that, we're just beginning to see the very beginnings of the Laura Gutierrez. I cannot wait until we do see you run for office. You're going to have my full support, and I will be down there and I will go help you knock on doors and do all those things that need to be done. And that you can count on our organization, Latinos for America First, who, will support you guys and always supports anytime that we can. But we need people like you to lead the others. You definitely are a rising star. And I am humble and honored to call you my friend and to have you part of our organization and to really be out there, growing and learning. And it's just amazing. You've done that. Oh my goodness. Rolando said he wants you to run for governor. Actually, I think Laura would be way better than what the current governor. So yay. Applause for that one.
No, I really have to thank you, Bianca, honestly, that you have opened a lot of doors, and you've plugged us in, you've connected us because of some of those connections that you've made. That is how, and really, honestly, I give all the glory to God, because, those doors are open because of him. He wants his people. He wants his people to speak truth, and he wants his people to fight for everything, for our children, for our freedoms. We definitely need to. I always give him thanks, and I would not, be here speaking to you tonight or be on this podcast if it weren't for his grace and his mercy and his wisdom. That's all that's really all I can say is that. But you have really, really, you're a great role model, and I really have to thank you that none of this can actually be done if the connections are so important. But I'm really, really grateful to you and to the Latino organization.
Thank you very much. The Lord, this is where the Lord put me. And I tell you all the time, I tell everybody in this organization, this is not a Bianca show. This is not about Bianca. This is about me training, mentoring, helping others. We've grown into a family, and the Lord, you're right. The Lord has opened doors. He closes the ones that need to be closed, and he opens the ones he wants to be opened. And so he's put me in very, very, the places I would never think I would be, but I make great connections, and those connections, it's what I do. So, if someone comes and asks me, oh, I'm trying to do this, I connect them. If I know somebody, I try to do as much as possible. I'm not a hoarder of information. I never have been. I don't sit there and go, oh no, these are my contacts, you can't have them. I really try my best to really connect people. all the time because I cannot do it by myself. I just can't. And no one in this organization ever feels like they can do it by themselves. This is why it's so important that we work with other organizations. We have to partner up with other people, that are doing things that we have to. It's the only way. And so it's worked out very, very well. And I am honored, and I'm like you. I thank the good Lord for bringing us all together for, yes, such a time. And all that I can do to help, that I do. I do my very, very best. And I get so busy sometimes. But I always try to follow up and try to, do the best that I can as well. But you and Rolando and so many, Janie Melendez on here, like I said, Judge Fonseca, some of the leaders down in the RGV are really, they're workers, and they care, and they're committed, and they're passionate, and they don't give up. And that's hard to find. It's hard to find. And then to be volunteers, none of us get paid for this. So we just thank you again for everything that you're doing. Guys, you heard how you could get a hold of her. She is on Facebook. You guys know that we are live tonight on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, patriottv.live.com, and Getter. Getter is probably one of my best platforms because I'm not censored there. I'm censored everywhere else. And so, but, or suppressed. If I'm not censored, I'm suppressed. Shadow banned still, but Twitter, we're getting better. And Getter obviously is where, I definitely have a lot of activity on Getter. So, I always say Getter is better. If you're not on Getter, you need to get on Getter. And unfortunately, we still don't have a way to go live on Truth Social. If not, we'd be plugged into Truth Social as well. So anything that we can do, yes, anything that we can do, we do. So, Laura, any last words? Anything else that you think you want our listeners to hear?
No, I just want to thank everybody that plugged in tonight, and just want to say, again, I cannot say it enough. Get involved in any little way that you can, because really we have to fight for our kids. We have to fight for our future generations, our grandchildren. We have to leave them something better than what we lived. And so that's really my cry, to everyone is just, if you can get involved, even if it's just a couple of hours a month, it really does make a difference. It really, really does.
And one last thing, when you say, for those that don't have the time to get involved and you want to help financially, you can always go to LatinoForAmericaFirst.org. There is a donate button. You can actually put a little note on there if you want to help out anyone in the RGB and help their efforts out. You can put in the note there that you want to earmark it towards, Laura Gutierrez's efforts. And so that we can, definitely send money her way. We can do gas cards for them as they travel back and forth. Our organization has paid for, what did y'all rent? A Mercedes, like I call it Mercedes, but it was a
van.
Y'all rented a van to get to the Capitol. Our organization paid for that. We have paid for rooms for you guys to stay at. We've paid for meals when we can pay for meals, to make sure that at least we offer something, whether it's the meal, the room, or the transportation. We really try to help out with that because, again, these are volunteers. So if you cannot get involved and go and help out, hey, buy us a cup of coffee, is what I say, buy us 2 cups of coffee for the week. And if you really believe in what Laura Gutierrez and all the team is doing down there on election integrity, things they do for border security, and then all this, what's going on right now as they're combating drag queen story hours, the books in the library, the CRT, the indoctrination of our kids, send us a message, do a donation on latinosforamerica1st.org and earmark it and say specifically where you want that money to go to, because I know that the team down there, as Laura's going to start putting this team together to clean up those voter rolls, guys are going to need, I love to buy them lunch. I love to buy them, give them gas cards as they're going to be traveling. This is hard work, guys. And so if you cannot give your time, then you can type like you do in church, and it'll help. It'll go, every little bit goes a long way. We don't need it would be great if you want to send $1,000, but you don't have to. You can just send $5, $10, $15, $20. And it adds up. It adds up. If 100 of you send $20, that adds up, and that gives us enough to say, hey, you know what, I can buy y'all lunch and so many gift cards and stuff, and you guys can go and do, and it just makes it a little easier. So either way, you can donate or you can give your time. If you can give your time, even better, because we still need more bodies on the ground. So we just thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight on Friday night. I know we've gone a little over, but thank you so much for being just, supportive of our podcast. And so thank you for tuning in tonight, and Stand Up, Stand Out America with yours truly, Bianca Gracia, La Conservadora Tejana, and Laura Gutierrez here.
Thank you for having me.
Presidents. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Laura, for everything you do. And tell Hector, I can see him walking back there. I know
somebody has to do the work around here.
I think he's dying to say hi or talk, but he's acting like he doesn't.
I keep seeing him back and forth.
He walks back and forth. Hector, we can see you. We love you. We thank you for lending Laura to us, and for, just for your wonderful, beautiful wife. We thank you so much. You guys have a lovely, giving heart. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, again, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned next week. We're going to come in hot next week. And so anyway, guys, thank you so much again for being supportive on Stand Up, Stand Out America. We will see you all next time. Peace out.
Bye.